Hello and welcome to another episode of Unmuted. I'm your host, Courtland Warren. Today we're going to explore one of the things that I believe definitely causes people to hesitate and not take the action they know to take as it relates to their vision, their goals, their dreams. And that is the fear of criticism from other people. How often have you been stopped because you were afraid of what someone else would say? And this could be related to, maybe you didn't choose a relationship that you were really inspired by because you were thinking about the opinions of other people. Perhaps as it relates to business, you didn't take the action. You don't record the videos. You don't start your podcast. You don't write the book because you have more concern about what other people will think. Well, this happens to slow a lot of people down as it relates to actually living a life on purpose, one of fulfillment, and creating a life that matters. And so let's together explore a framework for you to live more authentically, okay? A way for you to unleash your authenticity and be able to rest well at night knowing that you lived according to your value system and what really does matter to you. I can definitely attest to the fact that the fear of criticism can slow you down. It's one of the reasons why I was hesitant even in developing this podcast. It's one of the reasons why I've not produced as much or hadn't produced as much video content and learnings because, let's just be real, I haven't been I haven't always been proud of choices I've made and decisions I've made. And, oftentimes, some people have said, well, Courtland, you should run for president. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I got way too much garbage, way too much, things that can be dug up. So no, not going to profile me out like that. But of recent, it has been my recognition that, things get said about you, whether you go for it or whether you don't. And so why not just go? For me, it's living under the threat of what will happen that ultimately, I had enough of it. And so I would rather have the entire world against me than for me to be against myself. And so this particular framework is one that is designed to assist you in becoming a more empowered individual, one that will allow you to embrace your authenticity and take action towards your dreams, regardless of the opinions of other people. And just imagine what that would be like for you if you truly lived authentically, where you didn't care what other people thought. And not that feedback doesn't matter, but there's a big distinction between feedback and criticism. Feedback comes with a solution. Criticism does not. Someone offering you feedback can offer you a solution or an answer to how to change it, how to make it better. A person that comes with criticism, they don't have a solution. They just want to air it out. And so, first and foremost, if you're going to be a person who moves without so much concern with the opinions of other people, first and foremost, self-reflection and awareness is key. You got to be willing to go inward and ask yourself, really, let's say, a big part of this is whatever the opinion or the criticism or the judgment is, a great thing to do would have it to not be true, right? Or, you look at and explore, is there some truth to what is being shared or said? Okay, so you got to be willing to be, it can't just be that everybody's talking about me, everybody gossiping about me, everybody got something negative to say about me, and yet everything that they say, right, there's truth to it. So you got to be willing to be growing and expanding. Now, that doesn't mean that you haven't had past mistakes and damage done and so forth. I'm not saying that, okay, but as you look to move forward, there needs to be a part of you that is able to say that, yeah, maybe once I was, and who I've become now is not that person. So you want to be self-aware and reflective enough that there are changes and transformation that's happening, such that what is being said, or the fear that you have of something being revealed, okay, is not true. Like that kind of just makes sense, right? Okay. But then, secondly, it's about being willing to challenge your limiting beliefs. Oftentimes, the fear of criticism is truly about recognizing that caring too much about what others think is rooted in limiting beliefs and the fears of rejection and failure. Oftentimes, it's that feeling that, well, if this is found out, then I'll be rejected. If this is discovered, then I'll be left alone. If they really knew the truth about me, then I'll be abandoned. And that is rooted in limiting beliefs. The reality is that if you're truly going to change, and better yet, transform your life, you got to be willing to go it alone for a period of time. And that's okay. Why do I say that? Because you have attracted a certain environment around you based on what you're thinking and your belief structure, your viewpoints and your opinions have been. You've attracted a particular environment around you currently. So when you look to transform, when you look to leave the place where you currently are, then inevitably there's going to be some time or period where you will go it alone. Okay. And you got to be willing to do that. Meaning you can't force the transformation of those who are currently with you. You can't force that transformation on them, nor are you able to pull them with you to the place that you desire to be. Okay. So first, you got to be willing to self-reflect and be aware. Number two, you got to be willing to challenge your limiting beliefs. Number three, it's about refraining, okay, or not refraining, excuse me. It's about reframing the judgment, right? Reframe the judgment or the criticism. Like, so meaning shift your perspective on what the judgment is and realize that judgment is often a reflection of the other person's insecurities, biases, and their limited understanding. Okay. Understand also that you cannot control how others perceive you, but you are able to control how you respond to it. So oftentimes a person is making a judgment on you based on limited information and or interaction. They don't know the full story. They don't know the full you. They don't know what you've been through. And so they're forming an opinion or judgment based on incomplete information. So it would be necessary then for you to reframe their judgment, to reframe their criticism. Because they don't, right? Because, and now here's where your growth can shine through. Oftentimes, their attack on you is because of a limiting belief or insecurity in them. Now, that's not, it's what it is so important to understand that because it will provide you with levels of empathy and understanding. It'll enable you to get to the place where you can wish them well, even though they're talking crap about you. Trust me, I can attest to that. The amount of times I'm wishing people well who are deliberately misleading other people is it's pretty numerous. Okay, it's pretty numerous. And so our limiting beliefs and our own personal triggers a lot of times are what lead to the criticism and the judgment of other people. All right, so you want to be aware. You want to challenge your own limiting beliefs. You want to reframe the judgments of other people and recognize that oftentimes it's coming from a level of insecurity and limiting beliefs on their part. And then number 4 is about surrounding yourself with supportive influences. See, you want to position yourself such that you're surrounded by people who remind you of how great you are, even on the days when you forget. Who'll still see the truth about you. That's one of the fascinating things that I love about personal development, is that essentially my job is to see the truth about a person even while they're blind to it. It's about seeing the truth about a person even while they perhaps are in darkness. like life events, life experiences have convinced them otherwise, and I stand with strong conviction and I see the truth. You want to have people in your life who remind you of how great you are on those days when you forget, who can recognize and give you the honest feedback of how you screwed up, how you messed up, how that was annoying, that was not smart, and and I still hold and know the truth. You're not going to make it through without mistakes. You're not going to make it through without disappointment to yourself and other people. That's not happening. You're not going to make it through without doing that. But when you fall, make sure that you are in an environment that doesn't kick you while you're down. They reach down a hand, they lift you up, they help you dust yourself off. Now, you might get a good talking to, okay? You might get a good talking to, but you can still sense that they've not given up on you, right? Also, it's about focusing. Number 5, focus on your purpose. See, you can hear the criticism because you're close enough to it. The reason why you can hear the criticism is because you're close enough to it. I'll say that again. The reason why you can hear the criticism is that you're still too close to it. But when you are locked in and purposeful and on point, and you're about adding value and making contribution, I assure you that there is a way to get far enough away from it that you don't hear it. Someone will, in fact, have to notify you that it's being said. And even then, you're like, okay. And there's a place where I'm going. There's a place that I look to be. See, recognize that your willingness to move forward through things that have caused other people to quit actually pushes a button. It triggers them because it reminds them, right? You actually provide them a visual of what it looks like to move through it when it's something that actually caused them to quit. That's not always such a good feeling for people. It's not always such a good feeling to see that other people have moved beyond what caused them to stop. Your life could actually do that for people. And so this idea of, it was a quote that I came across recently. It said, I don't know the key to success, but I know that the key to failure is attempting to be liked by everybody. And then somewhere else I read that some people are so concerned about what other people think of them that they never do anything worth even talking about. Whoo, hold on a second now, okay? Right? So concerned about what other people will say that they never do anything worth talking about. It is not going to happen. In fact, it's part of the deal. And I understand that we are in the highlight culture where social media and otherwise, what you see for people are the highlight reels. You see the highlight reels. You don't see the tears at night. You don't see the frustration. You don't see the moments and the periods of loneliness. You don't see that. You don't see the mistakes made and regretted. You don't see the phone calls and the text messages threatening to, have you, disregarded or canceled or you don't see that. You don't see that. And part and parcel of all of this is, are you a person who's willing to move through that even in the face of it? Even in the face of it. So concerned about what other people are going to say that you never do anything worth mentioning. Cause you to get on the sidelines, sit still and be still. Now, mind you, this is not about just, being a maverick who goes out and does whatever. And it's like, well, I don't care what other people think. No. You don't get to go out and disregard people. You don't get to go out and disregard the feelings of people, step all over people, and then stand on, well, I don't care what people think. That's not what I'm saying. But when you know that you know that what you add is incredible value, and yes, there perhaps are mistakes that are made, or there are mistakes are made, not perhaps. You know that there are mistakes made, but you're focused on creating value and leaving people better than when you met them. If that is your focus, if that is your intent, when mistakes are made, make sure that you have made enough deposits by way of transformation that when you like make a mistake, it doesn't outweigh the value that you brought. Does that make sense? So in essence, we don't get to do this thing called build a life that matters without there being setbacks, disappointment, criticism. You're going to have the trolls. The trolls exist. Hard to explain, but they exist. And they exist in part to make it tougher for other people. But if you see that as their role, if you see that as a function of nature, to weed out those who aren't tough enough to move through it. If you see that as part of the test, if you see it as part of the exam, if you see it as part of what you got to go through, if you see it as like, it's the board that must be broken. Okay, it's the board that must be broken in order to get your black belt. If you can see that, if you can see it as part of the price that must be paid, you might be more excited to pay it. I know I am. I know that I am, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to lay in bed at night, knowing that you have more to offer, but being too afraid to offer it. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to know that you have so much more to give, but to be paralyzed by fear of it being rejected. I know what that's like. And I can tell you that moving through it requires self-reflection. Clearly, it requires some self-reflection. It requires also a willingness to challenge your own limiting beliefs. It requires the skill of reframing the judgment of others, like seeing it differently, seeing it as, for example, part of what's required, part of the test. It also requires a willingness to, it requires surrounding yourself with the right people. There's nothing more refreshing when you're down than to hear someone say, even though you're down, I still see and know the truth about you. Not, I mean, there'll be enough people who completely buy in, but you want to know from the people who still see the truth. And just one voice, one person, doesn't even need to be a whole lot, can actually be enough to get you up and get you moving again. So you want to be surrounded by people who will hold down the truth and be a reflection of that, even on the days when you forget. And then also, it's important to focus on your purpose. Focus on your purpose. Because when you're locked in, you don't hear all the noise. It's actually possible for you to get so far out there that you never even hear it. Don't be one of those people so concerned about what others will say that you never do anything worth talking about. Grow your list of critics. Grow your list of critics, particularly from doing good, particularly from doing well. Grow your list of critics. How do you do it? Be consistent. Stay in consistent action. There must be some level of movement every single day. Be consistent. Proclaim what you are going to do. You don't hide from it. You actually declare. You actually speak to what you are going to do. It's almost like, watch. This will happen. You have to be, in essence, like a forecaster. You have to paint. You have to be, as one of my mentors, Marshall Thurber, says, it's about making predictions. This is what will occur. This is what will happen. You state the goal. You proclaim it. You don't hide from it. You proclaim it. So first, you're consistent. Second, you are declaring what will happen. Fourth, you appreciate the price that is being paid. Why? Because when you're paying a price, you know that you are in flow with the law. The law is that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Another way to say that is you don't get without giving. Another way to say it, cause and effect. Whichever terminology you want to use, when there is criticism and you're growing your list of critics, recognize that you are in flow with the law. For every action, there's equal and opposite reaction. So your willingness to pay the price, as Earl Nightingale would say, be willing to pay the price. There is no getting without receiving. Don't fantasize about how wonderful and glorious and easy it's going to be when you get there. There's a price that must be paid. So you recognize that it's a part of paying the price. And then fourth, and perhaps most frustrating, you smile. You smile with a calm demeanor and a cheerful attitude, perhaps even gratitude. Why? Because you know that you are working with a force and a power that is greater than criticism. You are working with a force and a power that will outlast any critic. You're working with a force and a power that they likely don't even understand, or they understand it erroneously. So therefore, it's not an understanding. They think they get it, but they don't. They think they get it, but they don't. There are universal laws that are at play that are stronger than even man-made laws. There are laws that are at play, and that when you are in alignment with those, it can only work in your favor. That's the only way that it can turn out. And so when you've seen the end, when you're clear about what the end will look like, when you've already seen this outcome, it's like watching a movie twice. Watching a movie all the way through twice. So you already know the end. It doesn't matter what you see or what parts you missed and then catch the second time around. It doesn't matter the twists and the turns. Because you've seen the end, you know how it's going to turn out. That's the reason why vision is so important. You have to have a clear vision of how it will end, of what you have seen, and you take action with full faith, full confidence that what you have pictured is what will manifest. And with that, you can smile and you can be cheerful, even though they drag your name, bash your name, criticize. You can know the truth that you are working in alignment with a force greater than their resentments. Be consistent. Be cheerful. Know what it is that you want. Know what it is that you want. That's the vision. Be consistent. Know that it's part of the price that must be paid. And have a calm demeanor. Have a calm demeanor. You're going after what you want and not running into a corner and hiding. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, brings out critics, because you remind them of what it's like to move through what caused them to quit. I hope that helps. I hope it does. And if so, don't keep it a secret. Let someone know that this podcast exists. Join. Love to have you be part of my email newsletter. And so you can go to courtlandwarren.com, subscribe to the newsletter. And in doing so, you will get the latest research and findings in the area of mindset and personal development, particularly if you're a leader who's looking to develop your people. I look forward to supporting you in that regard. We'll see you next time.